Voice of Reason, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
We're reviewing everybody's favorite Rocky film, Rocky V.
Is it?
It's universally the most loved Rocky movie. Nobody's ever complained about it.
Awesome.
Yeah. No, a lot of people have complained about it. Guys, I'm going to tell you right off the bat. By the way, hello, everybody. Welcome. Good to see, figuratively, all our audience, our people.
Let's roll with the troll.
It's time to roll with the troll. All right, let's get down to it. So I'm going to tell you quickly, as we get into this, I think a lot of how we feel about a movie, a TV show, a song, anything in entertainment is more about the time in our life when we discovered it. You know?
True. Yep.
So for me, when Rocky V came out, I was a teenager, and Rocky 3 and 4 were constantly on in my house. If they weren't on cable, we had them on the VHS, right? It was just constantly, those two were in regular rotation. Not as much the first two, but 3 and 4. So when 5 came out, it was a very exciting time. I could not wait to go. And a buddy of mine was a little bit older than me, and he could drive, and he said, "Oh, we're not going to the usual theater." And I said, "Where are we going?" He goes, "We're going to this theater. It's Showcase." And this was like, it was a part of town where people really lived. Everybody in the theater stood up during the fight at the end. The crowd was just laughing, high-fiving. I mean, it was like a major event for every single person in there. So the fact that the movie didn't turn out to be quite what a lot of people expected, including me, was kind of it was eclipsed by the fact that we were all having so much fun in that theater.
Yeah.
So to me, I'm always going to think of 1990, 32 years ago. I'm always going to think of how much fun it was in the theater. So to me, that theater experience made this a whole lot better.
Yeah.
That said, what do you think of the film, Voice of Reason?
I love it.
Yeah?
I do. Do you? I have such a hard time piecing together a timeline, but if I let that go, if I let my brain just forget about that and just take in the story of it, I love it.
Yeah, briefly, let's talk about the fucked up timeline. And that should probably be at its own video, because we can do a good 15 or 20 minutes just on how weird the timeline is. Yeah, and I don't want to
spend a lot of time on that.
No, but let's briefly touch on it for a second. The show is called Roll with the Troll.
All right, I'm rolling.
Okay, so everybody bitches about how his son was a little kid in Rocky IV, and now when he gets off the plane in Russia and he goes, "Where's the kid?"
A minute later.
And his kid is now several years older.
Yeah.
And they'd already pulled this shit between Rocky 3 and Rocky 4. In Rocky 4, they did make clear that less than 2 years had passed, and the kid had also aged many years. So this is like the incredible growing kid.
It's like on a soap opera.
Yeah, very weird. So, okay, so let's say you get past that. You just figure, all right, fudge it, we'll let that go. There's still so many weird timeline things here. When he's training Tommy goes from being a nobody to getting a shot at the heavyweight title all over the course of 6 weeks. And
that's what it seems like.
And the reason I say it's 6 weeks is if you follow the story going on, the subplot behind it with Rocky Jr., he gets beat up at school. The kid takes his coat, and they're just talking about how it's getting cold. Remember that? There were a lot of references like, "Oh, it's getting cold out here, Adrian."
Right.
So it was clearly like October, November, when it was just starting to get cold out when the kid's coat got stolen.
Yeah.
Then by Christmas, we're talking 6, 7, 8 weeks later, by Christmas, they're giving Tommy a shot at the title.
Yeah.
And they're using words like "finally" and "it's about time." And he's like, "I'm finally going to get a shot at the title." And I'm like, dude,
was it 6 weeks or was it a whole year?
But it was not a whole year because we didn't see anything taking place in spring, summer, or fall. It was
we saw no change, changing of the season.
No, and there's even a point made where Rocky says, "Remember last year at Christmas?" And so it's clear that last year was at the old house.
Yeah.
Actually, that didn't make any sense either because last year at Christmas, he was in Russia.
He was fighting.
So I don't even...
Getting his block knocked off.
There are so many fucking timelines. Anyway, let's talk about the main film because that, again, can be its own video.
Yeah.
The film is to me, great. It is in no way what anybody expected. I remember sitting there in the theater, right when they get to that scene where Rocky where they're sitting at dinner with Tommy Gunn for the first time.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there going, what the fuck are we watching? They're sitting at a nice dinner and I thought by now we'd have some real violence going on and some intensity. And there wasn't. There was so much family time, so much stuff about the kids, oh my God, so many Paulie jokes and I remember just feeling like, gosh, we're getting pretty far into the movie. Nothing is really going down yet. You know, in Rocky 3 and Rocky 4, you've got serious testosterone shit happening now. And I was kind of let down, but like I said, my experience in that theater 32 years ago was that we were all having just so much damn fun. I mean, it was just such an energetic experience. It made up for the flaws in the film.
Mm-hmm.
And then the movie gets on, and I do start to get really involved in what's happening with Rocky and Tommy. You know, I do start to get really sucked into what the story's supposed to be. And the more you start to see George Washington Duke emerging and pulling his strings and playing, I thought he was really well done.
His web.
Yeah, he's a really cartoony guy. He's so, for those of you who are younger and don't know, he is a real guy. He is blatantly ripped from Don King. Mike Tyson's boxer. I mean, this is basically the story of Tyson. You know how every Rocky movie is stolen from real life? You know, Rocky 4 is Cinderella Man. Rocky 1 through 3 are that guy whose name I forget, but from Philly, a real Philly boxer. And now in Rocky 5, it's a story of Mike Tyson completely, which is ironic since Tyson's in Rocky 6.
Right.
But anyway, I do start to get more and more into the story, even though it's very slow paced. Remember how I was saying that Rocky 1 and the first half of the second film are very like chick flick to me?
Yeah.
This movie, we're right back to chick flick.
Maybe not to the same level though, because I was thinking about that too, but I don't think it rises to the same level exactly.
No, it's like one boob and maybe like a quick vaginal shot, and that's it.
Come on.
And that's it. So this is not quite as much. And there is a lot of like what we see in the thumbnail here. There's little shots of like a lot of the film really does take place in a boxing environment. You know, whether it's Tommy fighting or them training or whatever. So there is stuff like that going on, and that kept it kind of interesting. But I'll tell you, it's a lot of chick flick stuff. However, my favorite scene in it is chick flick.
Yeah.
My favorite scene in the whole movie is where Rocky has that flashback to something that wasn't in the other films, where they used Burgess Meredith, and they had that great scene.
That was good.
I think that's the most redeeming point in the whole movie.
I wept.
Yeah,
I did.
That's a beautiful
tear
scene.
To my eye. I couldn't help it.
They needed that because Burgess Meredith was so great.
Yeah.
And I think we all really missed him in the fourth film.
Yeah.
And so to give him a cameo like that in this film was great. I just absolutely loved it. So I think that's a really, really good part of the film. The timeline, again, is an absolute mess, but it doesn't necessarily take away from what we're watching. I think you can kind of get away from that. And although it's a slower paced film like the first two, I do think it is a really good story. It's a really good idea that Rocky has to face off against the guy he trained, you know, and against like a little brother to him in a way, or like a son in a way. So I think there were really good things. For those of you who have not seen, there is a different version of the film where the fight at the end is really different. Do you remember this, Voice of Reason?
I don't.
You can find it on YouTube, I think. They call it like the Blueprint something. I don't know why it's called that. But anyway, it's a different version where Tommy actually, I'm not trolling, this is real. Tommy apologizes. Rocky beats Tommy up. And then when it's a scene that's actually in the real film when Rocky says, you know, Tommy, you and me were supposed to be like brothers, Tommy, and Tommy's on the ground. Yeah. In the other, I think they call it a work print version. That's what it's called. Whatever that means. Tommy actually does get up and goes, you're right, man. I'm sorry. I apologize.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really weird. Find it. It's out there somewhere. I think it kind of goes in and out of YouTube for whatever reason, but it's a really interesting thing. I think it's a lot more realistic that way, that the fight at the end didn't have to be quite as vicious, and that once Tommy's down, they don't just kind of walk away and forget it. But at the same time, it was a little too human, and it didn't really, you know, rise up to the point of how 3 and 4 ended, which is so powerful and so just booming, and the bad guy's over, so now he's gone, you know. But it's so many great moments. What do you think, Voice of Reason? What are some other awesome moments from this film?
Well, I mean, just to tack on to what you were just talking about, I think that if they had ended it that way, ended that street brawl fight, you know, with Tommy saying, yeah, you're right, it changes the entire feeling of the way that movie ended. Yeah. You know, the way that it was put out with Rocky and his family walking away, you know now that Rocky has reconnected with his family, and he's got a better relationship or a better footing, you know, with his son again. And for Tommy if they had done it the other way, then it would have taken away from that. And I think that Stallone, but I think the audience too, really wanted to see Rocky kind of like back with his family where his heart is, not continuing on this thing with Tommy and whatnot.
Yeah, it's, with each sequel, you want to go bigger, right?
Yeah.
And we talked in the Rocky IV review that we just did the other day, that how from 2 to 3 to 4, and even from 1 to 2, they all did step up in intensity.
Yeah.
After Clubber Lang, it was kind of like, geez, how do you get badder and meaner than this guy? And they did. They actually found they went with the strong silent type instead of the big mouth, right?
Yeah.
And because he was bigger and all that shit, and they showed you how powerful Dolph Lundgren's character Ivan was supposed to be. So in this one, they couldn't go bigger than Dolph Lundgren. What was he going to do? Fight the fucking Jolly Green Giant? And he's jolly. He wouldn't be that
Paulie's robot.
Yeah, I don't know what you do to go bigger. So they have to just say, okay, let's just make the story more intense in this other way that Tommy's so unhinged. And I just don't think you could have really raised the stakes without giving Rocky like a physical impairment, right?
Plus the street fight, it now takes it, that's something different.
Yeah.
They did something different. Rocky got to fight, but not in the ring. We've seen him in the ring at this point multiple times. And this was just an all-out street brawl.
Yeah, which kind of, it's a great ending. I thought it was a great ending. I know a lot of people, I'll tell you guys, coming out of the theater and in that first few months after the movie's released, all everybody said was that this is so stupid. He didn't even fight in the ring. And even Stallone said somewhere in some interview what I was thinking. He goes, yeah, I didn't know people need me to fight in the ring in these films. Like, I just thought a street fight was okay. I remember thinking it was a creative way to do it, was to still give you... I mean, was it really better to see him in the ring?
Right. I don't understand that point of view. I know that some people say that. And for me, I did really like having this different kind of a fight.
Yeah.
I don't need 4 sides of ropes around him, to make it make sense. The street brawl, it's more personal. The stakes are higher because there's no judge, there's no ref, there's no bell,
And you get to throw in a couple of like wrestling moves and things.
Yeah.
And you get to throw in a few things that aren't boxing, but still primarily, it was like 90% boxing still.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I thought that was nice.
Yeah, and at the end of that fight with Tommy, we see Rocky pulling out some moves that we've never seen before, which it was more, a little bit more brawlish, a little more street, like getting down, ducking down low and causing Tommy to like trip over him and getting the upper hand that way and things like that you can't do that in the ring.
You should have left this bum in the streets where you found him.
That was
great. Tommy, you're a piece of garbage. You know that? Man, this ain't none of your business.
Yeah.
No, the man spits blood for you. It puts you as head of his own family.
Yeah.
And this is how you treat him? That was the greatest. I really love how that all came together. In the other version, by the way, in the work print version or whatever it's called, the guys at the bar, some of the kind of fat guys that are sitting around at the bar drinking, they actually, you see them in the theatrical film, in the theatrical version, they do get up and say, you need some help out there, Rock? And Rock says, no, this ain't no pie eating contest. They do more in the other version. They really want to get more involved. And actually, there's a whole nother scene in that version, by the way, where they actually bag on Rocky. Rocky gets drunk at the bar. There's a whole scene that we don't see in this film. But Rocky gets drunk at the bar, and they say to him, they go, you were heavyweight champion of the world. You went to Russia and fought this huge guy, and look at you now. You're one of us. And it really hits Rocky hard. And that's actually, I wish they kept that clip in the theatrical film.
I do remember seeing that. Yeah.
Oh, that scene is good. They shouldn't have taken that out. That was really important. And that's part of why Rocky has that big explosion in the street where he tells Adrian, I'm just another bum in the neighborhood, calling back to the first film when he says he doesn't want to just be another bum in the neighborhood anymore. And so that scene was good. It's too bad that's not in here, but whatever. Yeah,
choices.
I really enjoy this film. It is a real hard left from where we were in 3 and 4. They were so decadent, so big, so shiny. Now they brought him back to him being poor and everything. And
just stripped him bare and brought him right back down to his roots. And I think that's what Stallone was going for.
Yeah, too much with the kid. I got a little bored of all that. It does not feel at all like the other films. But
no, but I think that's why you're perceiving it to be more of a chick flick, because it was so focused on the relationship of the family.
Yeah, and that's okay. I'm just saying it was a weird move, but in the end, I still love it. I still think it really works, and I don't think you could have done a Rocky V and had it be like, imagine, we'll do another video on this, but imagine if at the end he did fight Union Kane. or Tommy in the ring. I think either way, I don't know if those would have been better. I think this was probably the way the movie needed to be made. So anyway, who gives a fuck what I think? Guys, let us know. Please like and subscribe to this video or to the channel and all that shit.
Hit the like button.
Yeah, please click the bells, whatever. If you've enjoyed this, we'd love to have you part of our little journey here. But more importantly, let us know in the comments what you think of this film. Like, not just good or bad, but really let us know how you think it could have been better or worse or whatever else. So, all right, guys, we'll see you tomorrow. Thanks so much.